Ladies and gentlemen, after over 2 months of waiting, I finally present my first ever completely positive, full-length review in this new location. I know, quite the milestone. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Spin Reviews, and today I'm going to be talking about the debut album from Bad Sons, called Language and Perspective. They're an LA pop rock band who've been gradually building up buzz since late last year when their first single, Cardiac Arrest, started circulating, and eventually landed on the Billboard Alternative Songs chart around the time that this album came out back in June. And between then, they put out the EP Transpose, which I instantly loved. If I had to come up with some arbitrary band fusion to describe their sound, it'd probably be The Killers meets Imagine Dragons with a hint of Duran Duran. Basically bands with airtight instrumentation, hooks that just lodge themselves in your head, even outside the choruses, and great vocals with a lot of emotive epicness to them, but not quite to the point of feeling over the top. Everything about this, from the bright, vibrant guitar lines to the very active drumming, for the genre at least, and the instantly anthemic vocal melodies, just has a way of grabbing the listener on first listen. And they do it in a way that feels surprisingly natural, even when there's some oh refrain like on the opener Matthew James. The lyrics are another major thing I gotta compliment this album on. There's a running theme throughout of basically being in that transitional point of young adulthood and trying to form your own mental identity. That point where you're in the midst of a bunch of emotional conflict between what you've been brought up to think and believe and how you yourself want to see the world, and how that translates in your own experiences and behaviors and relationships. And coming from someone who is at around that point, I gotta say, this album has really connected and resonated with me. It actually has some of the same themes on it that I myself explored on my recent EP, Miracle Drop, link in the description. What really works about this is the fact that it doesn't sound like it's coming from some authoritative figure telling you what's right and wrong, but rather it's coming from someone who legitimately and self-awarely doesn't know all the answers. But at the same time, it's not like this is just a bunch of whining and lamenting, because there is a real sense of agency to some of these songs. It's just that they're at that confusing point in their lives where they just don't know what to do with it. While I will admit there's not a huge amount of diversity on this album, this really is an example of a band that has a great sound, makes an album of great songs within that sound, and makes it work extremely well. And it doesn't get redundant from track to track, just on the back of the sheer song quality from track to track. In that way, sort of reminds me of the Capital Cities album from last year, another very highly regarded pop album for me. And in fact, I haven't named off that many tracks to sing loud because frankly, they're great for all the same reasons. Though I will say that the last 2 tracks are definitely the outliers in terms of formula on this thing. The closer Rear View in particular has this sort of groove-oriented feel to it, and a rhythm section that I could see working in some classic post-punk song. And Sleep Paralysis is easily the most different song here. Not only does it not follow the typical verse-chorus pop structure, but between the delayed echoed guitar line, the moody deadpan backing vocals, and the great subtle build instrumentation as it moves on, I'd definitely call it the most experimental one too. And while it's not my absolute #1 favorite song on this album, if there's one I'd pick to sort of act as the approach when it comes to, in the future, them evolving as a band, it'd probably be this one. Overall, Language and Perspective gets a 9.5 from me. I've been waiting for a debut album from this year to really blow me away, like a few did last year, and this definitely fits the bill and did that for me. Definitely check it out, since I can honestly see Bad Sons being that next band alongside Imagine Dragons and Fun and stuff like that to really blow up and cross over into the mainstream, and that could only lead to good things in my opinion. Something else definitely worth mentioning is that I actually saw Bad Sons at the FM 94.9 Independence Jam last Sunday at the Oceanside Pier, alongside other great acts like Phanogram, Walk the Moon, Little Hurricane, and a few more. And I gotta say that Bad Sons was probably my favorite out of the whole thing, and if you're curious, I have some pictures linked in the description. And I'm actually going to be seeing them again with New Politics at the House of Blues on October 30th, aka my 18th birthday, which in a way does kind of correlate nicely with the theme of this album, so I'm extremely excited for that. So what do you guys think about this album? Do you agree with what I had to say? Disagree? Have any feedback about the channel in general? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the Facebook page in the description for updates, commentaries, music news, and reviews of older albums. Share this around with anyone who might be interested, and hopefully I'll see you in the next episode of Spin Reviews. I just realized that the artists of my 3 favorite albums of 2014 so far all start with a B, as opposed to last year when there were no Bs in the whole top 10. Huh. Man, even with this whole college thing, I still have way too much time on my hands. Okay, so I was gonna end this video on that little stinger, but something happened during the recording of this. Basically, I got the hiccups, in particular in the middle of recording one line, and the blooper reel for it was just too wonderful for me to just delete. So, here you go. Here are the highlights. In fact, it actually has some of the same themes on it that I might... What really... It's not like he's just lamenting and depressing. It doesn't... It's coming from the point of view of someone who simply doesn't... Who legitimately doesn't know... That's telling you what's right... What really works about this is the fact that it doesn't sound like it's coming from some authoritative figure telling you what's right and... What really works about this is the fact that it doesn't sound like it's coming from some authoritative figure telling you what's right and wrong, but rather it's coming from someone who simply and self-awarely doesn't... I hate life. Really doesn't know all the answers. They're at that confusing point in their lives where they just don't know what to do with it.